What's up everybody, this is Ven, and I welcome you to the M.O.C Spotlight, where we take apart what you build. For today's episode, we'll be going over the Protector of Rapture, created and posted on our message boards by Dr. Kronos. Now before we get this started, let me explain to you my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the M.O.C, the build of the M.O.C itself, and the concept and ideas behind the M.O.C's creation. Each quality will mount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And please remember that this is all based on my opinion. Now let's get this started. So at first glance, I gotta say, this is a really neat looking little guy. His design is fairly basic, but it's not bad looking by any means. And it's still fairly unique too. The color scheme's really nice. This M.O.C is primarily gold, with some shades of blue acting as like a secondary color. I really like that this M.O.C uses these different variations of blue because they don't actually look too bad when they're put together like this, like the transparent blue mixed with the transparent light blue. That looks kinda neat, and it goes really well with all the solid gold armor too. And gold and blue complement each other really well. Just kinda wanted to throw that in there. The protector head's also a really neat feature because it matches up with the other blue featured on the M.O.C without needing to be transparent. I mean, yeah, a little bit of the mask is transparent because of the way it's designed, but we still get a solid blue so we can kinda have a face to look at. And you know, I'm just glad that it's not gold, because then it would have blended too much with the rest of the body. And now, the body is really the highlight of this creation because that's the most intricate portion of the M.O.C, and it actually houses most of its character. Because here we have like this stubby, sort of rotund design, coming off as like some really solidified armor. And then we get this nice deep sea diver thing going on here in the front, kind of covering up the face a little bit. I just really like how this all turned out. It looks really smooth and cleverly put together, but I will say that the back looks a little bit boring since for the most part it is just armor and there's not really that much detail or anything. But I think if this part did have a good bit of detail to it, or you know, just a little more to look at, then that'd be really nice. One thing that does perturb me a little bit about the body's appearance is if you look towards the shoulders, you'll see that the shoulder armor used here isn't actually gold. It's those orangish pieces that are blended with black. I mean, they don't necessarily look bad here. I think they fit with the M.O.C's design pretty well, but I would have preferred something a bit more cohesive, like actual gold parts. And now, other things to note, the drill looks pretty cool. I really like the addition of the little spike at the end of it. And it's also got a fairly simple design, which I also don't mind. And then this hand with articulated fingers, that looks kind of cool. And I do know that this M.O.C is supposed to be based on the Big Daddy from the Bioshock games, and that explains its whole aesthetic and everything, but I will go further into that a little later. So for now, let's look at the build. And the build of this M.O.C is decently simple. All of the limbs are basic CCBS builds with a few unique details and additions, like the thighs having this tire piece added to them to add more black, the feet having these Technic pieces behind them to add a bit more support, the drill arm being a custom build, and then the other arm having this custom built hand with opposable fingers. So a good half of this M.O.C is basic CCBS usage, and it all does the job really well. What would worry me is if the legs weren't able to hold up such a big, bulky body like this. But like I mentioned, the feet do have added support, and it looks like the legs are just doing a good job overall. Just being short, stubby legs that keep the M.O.C standing upright. Yep, that's good. Now the body is definitely the highlight when it comes to the build because it's got the most custom stuff going on, and it's not traditional CCBS and whatnot. There's actually a little bit of Technic complexity in there and whatnot, and I gotta say, I don't see anything wrong with it. It looks really nice and solidified. Everything flows really well, and the parts used on the front side of this body, it just really clever. This was just a really clever design. Pretty neat usage of parts here. And that's about all I can really say. It's a pretty well put together M.O.C. A good bit of articulation, a little bit of functionality with this drill that can actually spin. And thankfully the mask can't get knocked off because the whole head is blocked off. So that flaw with the BIONICLE 2015 sets definitely isn't much of an issue here. But not much else I really need to point out. Now, let's talk about the concept. So I can talk about how the big idea behind this MOC is the fact that it's supposed to be based on a Big Daddy, a character heavily featured in the Bioshock games, which is fairly easy to distinguish with its deep sea diver motif. Now, there are different types of Big Daddies in the games, but since this MOC appears to be mostly based on this variant of a Big Daddy, we're going to be looking at this a little bit more. So yeah, that said, the MOC definitely captures some of the more basic ideas from the Big Daddy's design, such as the big diving helmet with the yellow lights, the big bulky appearance, and the big drill in one hand and the big fist in the other. But there are also some obvious differences, such as the head being behind that diving helmet sort of design, and pretty much all the other details like the smooth shells and the bionicle armor on the legs, you know, but I mean, it is kind of to be expected. It's not supposed to be a completely accurate representation of a Big Daddy, it's just supposed to be mostly inspired by that design. Really, the big idea behind the MOC was to make a protector based on the Big Daddy's design, which, you know, obviously explains the head and the CCBS elements in particular that were used here. So the result looks like the spawn of a protector of water and a Big Daddy. Like they just got together one day and said, hey, let's make a baby. And this is what it looks like. That said, I am easily convinced. I think it was pulled off really well, and I can't really complain. Though, like I did mention earlier, some more details could have been added to like the back portion of the MOC, and maybe the helmet portion could have been a bit more rounded out somehow to kind of reflect the design of the Big Daddy a bit more. But it's pretty well done. It captures the essence of what the Big Daddy is, just a big Hulk-like being wearing a diving suit and wielding this big drill, you know? And since it is supposed to be part protector, I can forgive the simplicity of the MOC as well. I mean, the protectors are pretty simple to begin with, so there you have it then. Now let's go ahead and wrap this up. So, this MOC, in terms of its appearance, I give it a 4 out of 5. It's not the most impressive MOC I've seen, but it's definitely far from bad, and I'd even say it's better than just okay. It's simple, but it's still really unique, and has a good bit of charm to it. I actually really like the little guy. And yeah, a couple of things could have been done a little bit better. It would have been nice to see some more detail included in the design, but for what we have, it's pretty good. In terms of the build, I'll have to give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's a really good build in that it does its job. The whole MOC is structurally solid, but it is a little lacking in creativity. You know, it's kind of a basic build with the CCBS, and really the only complex portion of the MOC is the body, but even in that regard doesn't look all that crazy complex. But it's definitely a step up from something average looking, you know? And I love that the drill actually spins. Not that it's a really hard thing to accomplish, but I'm just glad it's there. Also, hooray for the big two-fingered fist. I can imagine that this guy must be really good at flicking things. Now, as far as the concept goes, I will give it a 4 out of 5. It's a pretty basic idea, you know, just make a protector that kind of looks like a Big Daddy. And as I mentioned earlier, this was done pretty well in my opinion. It maintains the simplicity and the small stature of a protector while retaining the aesthetic and features of the Big Daddy design. And man, it feels weird saying Big Daddy a lot, like over and over. Big Daddy, Big Daddy, Big Daddy. Daddy this, Daddy that. Who's your daddy? I'm your daddy. Your Big Daddy. But yeah, no, Builder executed his ideas fairly well. Some things might have been done a little bit better, and maybe you could have gone a little bit more creative with it in some fairly small aspects, and it is what it is. So, with that said, our final score comes up to 11.5 out of 15. Pretty good score for a simple little MOC like this, and it's definitely an interesting creation to look at. Good job, Dr. Kronos. I hope to see more out of you, and specifically more video game crossovers, because I think that's kind of a cool idea. And as a matter of fact, that would make for a pretty good challenge. So, for all of you viewers out there, you heard me correctly. We have a new MOC challenge. And I challenge you guys to combine a video game character of your choosing with any Bionicle character of your choosing. It can be any character or creature or anything. But the video game character has to be something unique. Can't be like, oh yeah, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park the game. No, I'm looking for like original video game characters, man. And I'm gonna give you guys until December 16th to come up with a creation. By that time, I will have a topic on the message boards so that you guys can post your creations in them. And you will need to do this to enter yourself into the challenge. And this topic will go up on December 9th. So those of you who are watching this with Vessel's Early Access, you guys are given a week notice, because by the time that this video is released to the public, the topic will be going up. This is essentially a contest, so the winner will be picked by me, and their creation will then be featured on a future M.O.C Spotlight. So I hope you guys caught all of that, and even if you're not planning on joining in on this contest, feel free to post your creation to the message boards anyway, at board.ttvpodcast.com. You can post your creations in the LEGO Creations category, and you can post your contest entries there too. However, I will only be looking at the ones posted in the topic that I will be putting up on December 9th. So again, December 9th, that's the day the topic goes up, and December 16th, that's when the topic goes down and the contest ends. I wish you guys luck, and I thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with for the video game challenge. So I'll see you all next time.